Every winter, farmers brace themselves for the same battle: skyrocketing hay prices, imported grain that eats into margins, and the endless diesel bills that come with hauling feed. But what if one crop could change that? A crop that quietly packs 20 to 30 tons of feed per acre, holds its nutrition right in the ground all winter, and even helps rebuild your soils at the same time. Most farmers in North America have never even considered it, but in Europe and New Zealand, it's already feeding entire herds and slashing winter feed bills by half, and it's not some new GMO supercrop. It's been hiding in plain sight for over a century. During both world wars, European armies kept entire herds alive on fodder beets. They were that reliable as a winter ration. In this video, we're breaking down everything you need to know about fodder beets, the forgotten winter feed that could give regenerative farmers and backyard growers a serious edge. We'll look at the staggering yields, the feed value across species, the soil benefits nobody talks about, and how you can put them to work on your land. Most people in the US have never even heard of fodder beets, but go back 150 years, and they were the backbone of livestock feed across Europe. By the mid-1800s, nearly every European dairy herd relied on them to get through winter. And in New Zealand today, over 150,000 acres are still planted every single year to feed cattle and sheep. So what are they? Think of them like sugar beets, but bred specifically for livestock. A massive root crop, high in energy, easy to store, and designed to be grazed or lifted straight out of the ground. Here's the shocker. 1 acre of fodder beets can produce 20 to 30 tons of feed. Compare that to 3 to 5 tons of hay or 4 to 6 tons of corn silage per acre. It's not even close. In terms of raw feed energy, nothing else comes close to matching it. So why did they disappear in North America? Not because they didn't work, they disappeared because cheap, subsidized corn took over. Corn silage became the standard, hay was easy to grow, and beets just fell out of the rotation. Trials in New Zealand show dairy cows on fodder beet diets produce 10 to 15% more milk solids compared to grass-only winter diets. And it's not just overseas. University plots in the Midwest have trialed fodder beet alongside corn, and found yields were stable even under late planting windows. In fact, some agronomists noted beet crops maintained feed quality later into winter than silage piles, cutting spoilage losses that U.S. dairies usually factor in. That's free efficiency most farmers never even realize they're leaving on the table. And with hay running $200 a ton and grain imports climbing, the economics are shifting fast. The crop we forgot about might actually be the cheapest, highest yielding winter feed week in field trials across New Zealand. Average harvests run 25 to 30 tons per acre. In good years, farmers have pushed past 40 tons. That's the equivalent of stacking 10 pickup trucks full of feed off a single acre. Let's put that into perspective. U.S. hayfields, they average just 2 to 3 tons per acre. Corn silage, often considered the king of tonnage, usually tops out around 18 to 22 tons. Fodder beets can literally double that. And it isn't a one-hit wonder. Because the crop pushes a taproot 3 to 4 feet deep, yields stay consistent even in drought years where grass or alfalfa fail. In parts of Europe, fodder beet has been called famine-proof feed because it delivers in bad conditions. 1 acre of fodder beets can replace 5 to 6 acres of hay. You're not just growing more feed, you're buying flexibility for your entire system. 1 acre can feed roughly 30 cows for 3 months. You'd need about 5 times more hay acreage to match it. Most root crops are bulky but low in nutrition. Fodder beets flip that expectation. They're actually one of the most energy-dense forages you can grow, comparable to corn grain in calories, but far easier for ruminants to digest. On a dry matter basis, fodder beet yields about 3 to 4 tons per acre. But the value isn't just in the tonnage, it's in the balance. The roots are loaded with sugars, while the tops provide digestible fiber. Together, they create a ration that delivers both quick energy and slow-release nutrition. New Zealand dairy systems have proven this at scale. Many herds now get 30 to 40% of their winter feed from fodder beets. Farmers there report not only lower grain imports, but also better body condition scores and improved milk solids through the cold months. And fodder beets aren't just for cattle. Sheep and goats thrive on them, and with careful management, even pigs can utilize the crop. It's one of the rare feeds that crosses species lines, giving mixed farms a single winter ration that works across the board. In fact, small-scale farmers in Europe often cook or steam beet chunks for pigs, making starches more digestible and improving weight gain in cold months. Trials in Denmark showed pigs fed beet rations gained weight 12% faster in cold months compared to grain alone. An edge small farms can actually feel. Most crops are harvested once and gone. With fodder beets, you don't always have to harvest them at all. In Europe and New Zealand, farmers turn cattle straight onto the beet fields, and the animals dig out their own feed through winter. The numbers are striking. Controlled strip grazing systems routinely add 70 to 100 extra grazing days. That's 3 months where tractors stay parked and hay barns stay full. One New Zealand trial found dairy herds grazing beets right through snow cover, maintaining milk production with zero concentrate feed. Because the roots are stored in the soil itself, they hold nutritional quality longer than harvested beets or silage. Farmers call it the living silo, because it cuts spoilage losses by up to 20% compared to harvested feeds. Soil cores pulled from beet fields in Germany found earthworm counts 40% higher under grazed beet paddocks compared to bare winter fields. That means your livestock aren't just feeding themselves. They're quietly feeding the underground livestock too. From a regenerative lens, this does double duty. The animals are self-harvesting, self-fertilizing, and the leftover root tips rot in place, feeding worms and microbes when most soils are starved. Instead of dead ground in December, you've got an underground buffet fueling biology until spring. Fodder beets don't stop at the surface. Their taproots drive 4 to 6 feet down, punching through layers of compaction that grasses and cereals never touch. In UK trials, beet roots reduced subsoil density by up to 35%, leaving open channels that following crops use like ready-made irrigation and root highways. When harvest is done, the soil still gets fed. Each acre of fodder beets drops thousands of pounds of leafy residue loaded with potassium and trace minerals. German field studies measured over 200 pounds of potassium oxide per acre being recycled back into the soil, the equivalent of skipping a round of potash fertilizer. Late season cover is another bonus. While corn and hay fields sit bare by October, fodder beets keep a canopy into late fall. That living cover slows runoff, traps snow moisture, and cushions fragile topsoil through freeze-thaw cycles that normally erode fields. As those deep roots decompose, they leave organic matter buried feet below the surface. Most crops only build fertility in the topsoil. Fodder beets go deeper, enriching the whole soil profile, turning dead subsoil into living ground that supports healthier pastures and crops for years to come. Researchers in Germany have measured fodder beet roots driving down 5 to 6 feet. On paper, fodder beets might be one of the cheapest feeds you'll ever grow. Establishment costs hover around $350 to $450 per acre. Seed, fertilizer, and field prep. That acre, managed well, routinely yields 20 to 30 tons of feed. Now compare the math. Buying hay at $60 a ton means that same acre of beets is worth $1,200 to $1,800 in feed value. 3 to 4 times what you spent to grow it. In drought years, when hay prices double, the return looks even better. Farmers in the UK report that switching part of their winter program to fodder beets cut feed costs by 40 to 60%. One dairy operation documented dropping from $2.20 per cow per day on purchased grain to under $1 with beet rations. Unlike grain imports or hay hauled in from states away, fodder beets anchor fertility on your farm. Every ton you grow keeps dollars local, adds fertility back into your soil, and avoids diesel bills from hauling feed. For regenerative farmers, it isn't just about yield. It's one of the rare systems that pays you twice, once in feed value and again in healthier soils. Fodder beets sound almost too good to be true, and they do come with challenges. The biggest one? Acidosis risk. These roots are so high in sugar that cattle or sheep can founder if they dive straight in. Farmers in New Zealand learned the hard way. When herds were switched suddenly, losses spiked. The fix is simple but non-negotiable. Introduce beets slowly, over 10-14 days, and always pair them with a source of fiber like hay or straw. Management matters too. Strip grazing works best, moving cattle daily across a beet field while rolling out a bale of hay beside them. That way, they eat roots and roughage together, balancing energy with fiber. Soil type is another limitation. Fodder beets bulk best in well-drained, friable soils. On heavy clay or waterlogged ground, yields drop sharply and roots can rot. And then there's harvest. Large farms often use root lifters or beet harvesters, but small operations don't need fancy equipment. In Europe, smallholders still hand-pull a row at a time, or let livestock dig them up directly in the field. It's labor, but the economics usually justify it. The bottom line, fodder beets aren't plug-and-play. They demand careful management, but when done right, they don't just replace grain or hay. They give you one of the most productive, soil-building winter systems on the planet. So why aren't fodder beets everywhere in North America yet? Honestly, it's more about culture than capacity. US and Canadian systems leaned hard into corn and hay for decades. Fodder beets just never got a foothold, even while they became a winter feed staple across Europe and New Zealand. But here's the edge regenerative farmers have. The methods already align perfectly. Think about it. Bale grazing plus root grazing. Your cattle trample hay into the soil, fertilize with manure, and then graze beets straight out of the ground. You're layering two of the most powerful fertility-building systems in the same field, without hauling feed or burning diesel. There's also huge opportunity for local seed companies. Right now, most fodder beet seed in the US is imported and expensive. But as more regenerative farms start experimenting and showing results, it's only a matter of time before domestic breeding programs take off. That shift could put beets on the same path corn once took, from niche to mainstream. The reality: fodder beets might not just be another winter crop. They could become one of the keystone tools for regenerative livestock systems in North America. The ones who adopt early and prove it can work here will shape that future. Some innovative farms in the northern plains are already experimenting, planting just 5 to 10 acres of beets alongside bale grazing systems. Early reports say those acres not only stretched winter feed by weeks, but also greened up faster in spring. If that pattern holds, fodder beets won't stay forgotten much longer. So here's the bottom line. 1 acre of fodder beets can out-yield hay by 10 times, extend your grazing season by months, cut feed costs nearly in half, and even rebuild compacted soils while it's at it. Europe and New Zealand have been feeding entire herds on beets for decades. So the real question is, why not here? Why aren't we putting this tool to work in North America? I want to hear from you. Would you try fodder beets on your farm, or do you think they're too much of a leap? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want more deep dive regenerative hacks that almost nobody's talking about, hit subscribe and share this with a farmer who's sick of writing winter feed checks. Because sometimes the answer isn't new at all. It's something we forgot to grow.